I don't need anyone else to exist. I am going to ask for contributions, and you're going to like it because I'm successful and you're not. July the cuck. I'm successful.
Well, guys, one more time. Today, we are once again talking about one of my favorite guys on the internet, and at least today, I actually kind of have an excuse as to why I'm coming back on my, second promise at this point, that my last video on him would, be my last. That's right, people. We are once again talking about the world's most grateful streamer, DarkSidePhil. Now, I really wasn't planning on making this video. I got tagged in some clips on Twitter of DSP responding to me, calling me out, whatever you want to call it, and I was out and about, so I didn't sit down and watch them, and I sort of just forgot about it for a while. But then, later that night, I was like, you know what? Let's take a look. Let's see what he has to say. And, shit, he sucked me back in, guys. He got me. I'll admit it. So here we are. Now, if you're unaware of the context, about a week ago, I made a video on DSP. If you don't know who DSP is, I would just go watch that video. But I made a video on him because he was mocking a donator for donating an amount that Phil deemed just to not be enough. And I titled that video, "The World's Greediest Streamer Got Worse." And, well, I think Phil saw it because he went on a little rant, or really kind of a big rant on stream, where he mentions somebody named July the Cuck. Don't know who that guy is. Sounds pretty cool, though. And, well, he does what Phil is best known for. He lies to himself, he lies to his audience, he circumnavigates every piece of criticism that's ever thrown his way, and he just sits there and he copes. He copes and copes and copes and copes until, honestly, I think he starts to believe himself. And I could just let him do that, not like I can make him stop. He's always going to do that. But my God, man, the shit he said was just so unbelievably wrong that I've just got to go back one more time, guys. Now, I'm going to do my best to be as cordial and constructive as I possibly can be throughout this video, because Phil seems to have a habit of downplaying literally anything that is ever said about him that has the slightest negative connotation as hate, as people being mean to him, not understanding him, content farming him. So I'm gonna try and be as constructive as I can be. I usually am pretty constructive on this channel, so it's not gonna be like a challenge, but it is Phil, so, we'll see. Let's not waste any more time though, let's take a look at this rant. Please subscribe. Okay, so real quick, I'm not going to show it because it's like 20 minutes, but what seems to have led Phil to talking about me was he poses this thought experiment where he says, okay, I have 3 paths in front of me, for his future as a content creator. He says the first one is where he becomes a corporate shill, he sells out, he takes sponsorships, he has to completely change his content style, he can never be honest again, because I guess Phil thinks if you take a Raid Shadow Legends advertisement or something, they're going to monitor your stream for the rest of your life and never let you talk bad about a game or be honest or be edgy or anything like that. Obviously, that's just an excuse to not go down that path. Phil doesn't really think that, but he says he doesn't want to take sponsorships because he doesn't want to sell out, because it's somehow going to completely change every single thing about his content if he takes an occasional sponsorship. Then he says path 2 is fully embracing the drama, going on podcast, addressing all the hate, attacking people who attack him, attacking people who didn't attack him, really diving into the drama-heavy side of the internet. Now, while he's saying all this, his chat is like, yeah, those paths sound great. Sound a lot better than what you're doing right now. Of course, he just completely ignores that because he's not actually considering these paths. He's just trying to excuse his behavior because he says his third path is basically just continuing to do what he does. Listening to the constructive criticism of his audience, which he is actively ignoring as he's talking about this. Doesn't address a single thing anybody says about these paths. And guess what? Continue doing what he's doing. He won't take sponsorships and he won't dive into the drama. So what does he have to do to make money? Oh, he has to beg his audience. Then he says, is that really that big of a deal? Is it really that bad to ask his audience for money? He says, is what I'm doing that bad? He doesn't mention them by name, but he brings up, I'm pretty sure, Logan Paul and his crypto scam, then Mr. Beast and making the Lunchleys and the Feastable bars, and then Boogie for faking cancer. As a comparison, I guess, to say, look at what these guys did, it's a lot worse than begging your audience for money. Which, yeah, obviously it is. And that's how we got to this.
We've got actual creators on the internet making documentaries about me saying, I'm the greediest creator? Are you fucking kidding me? Have you ever watched anyone else, you pathetic fucking schlub? You are so lame because you take the low-hanging fruit, the easy target that everyone's already targeted, to make a worthless fucking video that rehashes the same shit and just ignores the fact that there are people 47 times worse than me who actively hurt people on a fucking daily basis.
Okay, so let's talk about this criticism. So it seems like what Phil is implying here is because he's not the worst human on planet Earth, that he should never be criticized. He falls into the mindset that a lot of losers like this tend to, where they think that as long as they're not like the worst person walking the planet, criticism against them is not valid. That as long as there's somebody worse to criticize, that none of it should be directed towards them. Now, if I need to explain to you why that mindset is not a good one, you're a lost cause. I'm not even going to waste my time, but I find it funny that DSP brought up crypto scams, Mr. Beast and the Lunchleys, and Boogie, because those are three topics I have talked about endlessly. Boogie not so much as the other two, but influencers and content creators who resort to crypto scams and Mr. Beast. I have criticized those two things far more frequently than I've criticized Phil, and I've gone into depth on those. The few videos I've made on Phil have been like half jokes. I don't think what he's doing matters that much in the grand scheme of things compared to like a big content creator pulling a crypto scam or Mr. Beast hiring criminals or exploiting people. DSP pathetically begging for money is not nearly as big of a deal as those two things, but I still think Phil is ridiculously greedy. This might be a hard to swallow pill, Phil, but just because you're not the only greedy content creator doesn't mean you're not one. Also, since this is obviously what you're hung up on, I'll address it. Me calling you the world's greediest streamer while those people exist. First of all, Mr. Beast isn't a streamer. Most of the crypto scam people I've talked about aren't streamers. And, well, I think you're greedier than Boogie, so there's that. Obviously, you're probably not the world's greediest person, Phil, but I think of known content creators, like people who actually have somewhat of a name on the internet. I don't know, man, you're up there. Not only have I never seen another streamer beg like you do, I've never seen somebody be so fucking ungrateful when their begging works. People on chat and people on Twitter were talking about how you made like $1,200 in a single stream this week, and you're still complaining about not hitting goals? Yeah, dude, you're pretty fucking greedy.
To get ahead, but somehow I'm the greediest person on the internet. Get fucked, you disingenuous fucking loser who has no idea how to actually make a documentary.
Phil, where the fuck are you getting the word documentary? I made like a 10-minute long video on you where I talked about a 3-minute clip. I didn't make a documentary on you. Why can you never just address the point? Like, are you even aware that you're doing this? You attack things or you address things that don't actually exist, that like can't be argued, instead of addressing what I actually said about you. What are you talking about, man?
What a fucking loser schlub to pull my name out of the hat and say I'm the greedy guy. You're nuts.
I pulled your name out of the hat, Phil, because you are a greedy guy. Objectively. There's no two ways about it. Objectively, you are a greedy individual. You have genuinely convinced yourself as a 42-year-old man that it is the responsibility of your fans and your viewers to fund your life. You can go get a different job, Phil. Nobody's stopping you. You have convinced yourself that you are entitled to the life of a man who sits on the internet all day and demands money from strangers. I don't know how you've done it, but you have. You are greedy. Can you imagine if somebody walked up to you on the street and said, hey, I want to get your opinion on something. I'm thinking about quitting my day job. I'm going to go to Best Buy, buy a camera, and then I'm going to go onto the internet and hold my content, hold my gameplay hostage. I'm going to say, look, guys, if we don't hit the goals for today, we're not playing games, we're not doing streams. People would look at you like you lost your fucking mind. And that's what you do for a living, Phil. You are not entitled to these people's money, but you have tricked yourself into thinking you are. Maybe that's why you don't think you're greedy, because you're living a fantasy. The more I watch you, the more I begin to think that you actually believe that somehow you are entitled for this lifestyle to continue in perpetuity, that it's genuinely somehow the responsibility of other people to pay your bills. Sitting here with a straight face as a grown man saying how you only have 3 paths in life, and they're all on the internet streaming. Dude, you have hundreds of paths, and they all start on Indeed.com.
I've tried to do things different. Why I feel like my path can work, but it requires people to actually have some independent thought, to not listen to fucking morons who are constantly just crapping on stuff, using it for personal gain. Phil's the worst guy on the internet. Dude, there is no one who can legitimately look at me and my content and say that I am the worst guy on the internet, period. It's just not possible.
Wow, really brave, Phil. I'm proud of you. Yeah, you're probably not the worst guy on the internet. I will not argue with you on that one. Glad we could find some common ground. You are not the worst person on the entirety of the internet. Doesn't mean you're a good one, though. Again, you go to extremes, you go to things that can't be argued to try and defend yourself, instead of addressing the things that people actually say about you.
So anyone who has is a disingenuous liar who has no content and relies on trying to make fun of memes on the internet to make content. I want you to think about that. I sit here and I grind every day to put out content for you, whether it's gaming news, a podcast, just hanging out and having conversation, playing a game, doing other things outside the box, whatever it is, it's definitely content, all right? I don't just make my content talking about other people's content. I make original content. That's way harder. Because if you don't make your original content, you just suck on everyone else. You're a fucking parasite. I don't need anyone else to exist. I don't need anyone else to exist. I don't need anyone else to exist. I don't need anyone else to exist.
Sorry, wanted to let that one marinate. The man who begs and begs and begs and begs and pleads and begs and begs and pleads his audience that only exists to make fun of him doesn't need anybody else to exist. Have we ever heard a more tone-deaf and less self-aware statement ever? I think that one might take the crown, people. Secondly, let's address the criticism on commentary content. Yeah, nobody in their right mind would defend commentary content, the kind of content I make, as something that is super high effort. I've said many times before, what I do for a living is pretty easy. I'm extremely grateful and I'm extremely happy that I get to do what I love for a job. And yes, objectively making original content, as in content where you bring a brand new idea to the internet all on your own, a video where you do everything from scratch, you bring the idea to fruition all by yourself, is way harder than me talking about a TikTok video or Twitter drama or a streamer like Phil. What I'm not gonna let you say though, Phil, is that what you do is somehow harder. Sure, we can say that you make original content and that you just don't talk about other people, even though you do that a lot. We can ignore that though. If you're gonna sit here and tell me that sitting down and giving your reaction to a video game is any harder than sitting down and giving your reaction to a video, you're lying to yourself. They are basically the same thing. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Phil, after watching some of your streams, I'm gonna say that what you do is easier. It doesn't seem like you even take the time to get good at the games you play. You're subpar at basically everything that I saw at best, and 9 out of 10 times the only thing you're doing is sitting there in complete silence or complaining about how it's the game's fault that you died. I clicked a random stream on Phil's channel. I'm gonna pick a random 5-minute segment from the stream, and I'm gonna show you guys every time he says something in 5 minutes. I will give you the stream title and I'll give you the timestamps so you can go check me if you think I'm lying. This is best kill streak ever as I grind for the Splinter Skin Part 74 Call of Duty Black Ops 6 multiplayer, 9 minutes to 14 minutes. This is everything he says.
Went the wrong way. It didn't kill him. The Semtex blew up on his body, which I pushed him into it, and he didn't die from it. Wow. How did he spawn? Oh my lord, he spawned behind me. Oh. He sniped through the smoke, but then I got him with a Semtex. What on earth? Wow. Why was there a mine? How did I walk through the mine, start capturing the thing, and then the mine went off? What? Nothing. I clicked. Absolutely no response, as if I had never clicked. Wow. Terrible. What? Okay, no death for no reason. Oh, it's my teammate. Cool. Watchdog coming. There we go. That made no sense. Do we each have a chopper? What the hell? This is insane.
37 seconds of original content in 5 minutes, and all he talks about in those 37 seconds is how it's the game's fault for every single time that he dies. This one's my favorite.
That made no sense.
My brother in Christ, what do you mean that doesn't make any sense? You were literally blocking the bullets with your face. Bullets are pretty bad for the human body, even in video game form. So, yeah, calling this original content is kind of fucking wild. You're not even interacting with your chat. You're just sitting there in silence, only talking when you die. That's basically what you do when you play a video game off stream. What you're doing is not making content. So sure, talk all you want about how commentary content is not that hard to make, but do not trick yourself for a minute, Phil, that you're working any harder.
I exist in the center of this weird universe, and this parasite vortex exists around me. If I turn off my camera and never broadcast again, 1,000 people have nothing to do tomorrow. So every one of them can get fucked. None of what you say matters. None of your criticism is valid. You're a bunch of fucking loser lowlifes. and you don't mean anything to me.
Putting on this big tough man act when tomorrow you're just gonna go right back to begging your audience to give you money so you can continue to play games instead of getting a real job? Kind of a bad look, bud.
And yes, I am going to make money. I am going to ask for contributions, and you're going to like it because I'm successful and you're not. Because success doesn't mean you steal success from someone else. It means you make it for yourself, which is what I have always done and you could never do because you don't have talent. Get it? Anyone who relies on me to make their content has no talent. If anyone wants to argue with that, why don't you make some content for your own and show me how fucking successful it does? Like some of these no-loads who actually did try. Oh, I'm going to play games like Phil does. Oh, I'm going to do a stream like he does. Oh, I'm going to do this. And then you fail, you fail, you fail, you fail. Why doesn't July the Cuck make a fucking piece of content for himself that's not making fun or deriding or trying to bring down someone else and see how it does? Because it ain't gonna fucking work.
You know, for a whiny man baby who spends a lot of his time complaining that people don't do enough research or really know what they're talking about before opening their mouth, you sure do it a lot, Phil. Now, we don't have to go view for view here, buddy, but I actually do have two other channels other than this one. One is a gaming channel called Duck the August, and one is a channel where I shoot guns and shit called The Ballistic Bird. I uploaded the gaming channel like once every 2 months, maybe. I don't upload the gun channel anymore because where I used to film them, the zoning laws changed, so I can't shoot there anymore, unfortunately. But I think these two channels would fall under your definition of original content. And not to be that guy because it's kind of a douchey thing to say, but I mean, you brought it up. My videos on those channels outperform yours hundreds of times over. Not to mention, you know, the countless number of non-commentary videos I've made on this channel. So what now, Phil? How are you gonna weasel your way out of this one, pal? You state with your full chest out, big boy moment for you, that if I try those things, they're not gonna work, and objectively, you are wrong, bud. You are fully 100% just talking out of your ass to try and make yourself feel better. Just gonna try and circumnavigate a bit more. Ignore and dodge any criticism sent your way like you're so good at doing. Is that just always your plan? Sure seems like it, bud. Well, guys, what do you think? Do you think Phil will ever possess the ability to be honest with himself? Have a moment of positive self-reflection? It seems unlikely. Usually, I don't really respond to stuff like this, but like I was saying at the beginning of the video, the shit this guy says is just so far from reality that I feel a need like in my bones to correct the guy. It's bad. Especially when it's shit about me. Yeah, I can't let that slide. Not from Phil. I'm sorry, not from Phil. Hopefully, the guy can get his shit together. He won't, but I mean, we can try and be the bigger person. Hope for the best for him, right? Seems kind of pointless, but trying to beat the parasite cuck allegations, so I wish you the best, Phil. See ya.